What's up, everybody? This is Cam, aka the Honky Tonk Hair Machine for the Rugged Revival podcast. Mr. Braden, thanks for joining us, man. All right, so I always like to open with this question because I feel like it kind of gives us a peek behind the curtain of who you are, and you can answer as in depth or as little as you want. But where are you from originally, and what was life like for you as a kid?
Well, I grew up in Nokesville, Virginia, right outside of Manassas, Virginia, if you're familiar with Nova at all. Grew up with my brother, Dean Lee, who is also in the Dogwood Brothers with me. And lived up there until I was about 8 or 9 years old. And then eventually moved out to the Shenandoah Valley where my grandparents lived and stuff. And spent about the rest of my life out there until I moved to Richmond in 2013.
Nice, right on. And I have to say, your hair is a lot longer than when I saw you the first time.
It's getting pretty long, especially with the weather breaking finally. I'm going to hit you up sometime. I don't know.
Yeah, you look awesome, man. So when did you start playing the guitar?
I started playing guitar at about age 11. I think I bought a PVT-60 electric guitar off a guy across the street from me. And I don't know if you know guitar, that thing's just like a huge piece of wood, weighs like more than a Les Paul. So I could barely really play that. I think I got an Epiphone Les Paul like later at Christmas time or something. And then I really started figuring out chords and stuff. But again, my brother is a few years older than me. So he was already playing in punk bands and stuff when he was a teenager and, really opening my eyes to music and wanting to play music.
Yes, that's awesome, dude. So when did you guys eventually join up in the same band, or like when did the Dogwood Brothers come about?
We started Dogwood Brothers going on like 6 years ago now.
Okay.
He had like a country punk band up in Nova in like the late 90s, early 2000s called Dean Lee and the Trash Town Menace. And they played around, and some of the guys that actually played with him in that band later rejoined and reformed the Dogwood Brothers with me and some other guys that I knew. So we've all like played different styles of music for 20 plus years, kind of on and off together. And he was already living in Richmond. I lived in Harrisonburg for, I don't know, while I was in college and stuff. And he was playing in bands down here, and I was kind of doing my own stuff up there. But eventually I moved down here and was like, we need to start a band, of this kind of stuff. So we played in hardcore bands together before this and, stuff like that. So
I love that about a lot of the Nova scene and kind of Richmond area scene. There's this like punk hardcore to folk and country pipeline that I love it so much. I think it's so cool.
yeah, it's just really kind of what we were exposed to growing up, like our grandparents were definitely listening to, all the 50s and 60s country and bluegrass music and
Yep.
gospel music and all that kind of stuff. And then, growing up in Manassas and, on the outskirts of DC, you have all the DC hardcore legends of, Minor Threat, and later we have Fugazi and, Bad Brains and all that kind of straight edge hardcore stuff that was around, that we kind of take it all in. And
Yeah.
a lot of people from Richmond, I don't know that many people that are from Richmond. Everybody's from, Maryland or Virginia, Northern Virginia, or out in the west part of Virginia where we're from. And it's kind of like a transplant way, but we all kind of come together and do the music stuff here. It's pretty DIY at times, but it's a
So
good.
have you always played your like original music, or did you start off on covers?
Or the Dogwood Brothers originally started off, we were going to throw together like this classic country set because we were going to play the Blue Ridge Barn Dance with our friend who's got a band called Brandon Wayne and the Lonesome Drifters. He's playing around a lot now. But at the time he was in Charlottesville kind of hosting this show, and my brother was playing with him a little bit and was like, hey, we should throw together something and do this show. So that was our first thing we ever did. If you can find it online, it's the Blue Ridge Barn Dance featuring
Nice.
Dogwood Brothers. It's we do a bunch of classic country covers stuff, but we still actually, throw in a lot of those covers here or there when we're playing now. But after that initial thing, we really started writing original music, and I kind of come from a more like folk singer songwriter background.
Mhm.
I would kind of write some of the songs and bring them to the guys, and we'd build the songs around, the words and simple chord structures that I have. And now it's kind of evolved into this very organic, original thing.
Yeah, you guys are great. I've only had the opportunity to catch you live that one time when you opened for Summer Dean.
Oh, I thought you'd seen us a couple of, yeah, that was a great time. That was one of
Yeah.
our favorite experiences. Getting to open for Summer Dean is obviously, you know, a real pleasure for us, and we hope she comes back sometime soon. That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
me too. I was poking at her in the Instagram today. I said, "Hey, we're
Yeah,
due. We're due for our annual Summer Dean visit." So,
yeah,
you guys are great live and you have like a real, like you're locked in, man. And it's really cool. And there's so many people in the band. And, it's really impressive to have that many people
yeah,
lock in like that. It's cool. So you have your hands full though. You're singing, you're playing guitar, and
yeah.
you're trying to be, entertaining. So what are some of the biggest challenges you face when you're trying to juggle all three of those?
Yeah, the banter side of being on the microphone is never something you can really like prepare for. It's just like, what's the crowd gonna give you, kind of.
Mhm.
But sometimes I feel like I do better than others with that. But there's seven of us, so like you said, getting us all crammed on the stage and our sounds leveled out, and like that's always a challenge. Like everybody kind of knows their parts these days, but when we were first starting out, it was very much like we're all just playing along, and we get to a solo part, and it's like, okay, who am I gonna turn and yell at? And sometimes I'd be thinking about, okay, well, the piano solo is coming up next, and then I'm like, oh crap, there I'm singing the second verse over again and mess up some words. But pretty much now we keep it rolling. Everybody knows what to do, and I just have to remember the words and
Yeah.
the chords.
Well, and even then, that's actually a pretty common thing that a lot of folks say. And I think part of being the singer front person, if you will, is knowing the timing of the music. And as long as you're saying words that kind of fit with the timing, not many people are going to know you might be not saying the
Right.
right words.
Yeah.
Who are your current biggest both country and non-country influences these days?
Current country influences. I mean, we got to give a shout to Charlie Crockett. I mean,
Oh yeah.
love the guy. I've seen him a couple times. He puts on a great live performance. If you never get to see him, go see him. We just talked about Summer Dean, and we've had the privilege of opening for her. Um, Sierra Farrell, I think, is you know very awesome. Got to see her at Browns Island, for like $10 a couple years ago, and everybody it's like, who is this girl? Like, this girl's gonna be huge. Like, you guys don't even know, and she is now. So that's cool. But there's people like that in country. Moving further back, Dwight Yoakam and Emmylou Harris and that kind of stuff. We always kind of like look at having a very upbeat, live, fun, and high energy performance. So we look at some of those things. But as far as country music, we go all the way back to the Patsy Cline and
Yeah.
Williams and Ernest Tubb and all the standard stuff.
Mhm. Yeah. What would you say is like maybe some of your non-country influences?
Well, like I kind of touched on before, like we listen to like everything in this band from punk to
Mhm.
and stuff. So I listen to a lot of like Jimmy Martin style bluegrass with that kind of attitude. We definitely try and pull like from that when we're doing some of our more string band stuff. Um, but we like to do Steve Earle covers and, stuff like that, and do a little more rockin', like Hillbilly Highway kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, I grew up listening to Rancid and, The Clash and the Misfits and the Ramones and, all these punk bands and stuff. That's really where I learned how to play chords, and they were
Mhm.
all 1-4-5s. They're just faster. So
Yeah.
like it all kind of opened the door to like, oh, well, where did this music kind of come from? If you follow it all back, you get to the same place. So
It's true, man. You follow the trail back and it goes right on back. And it's funny too, because I wasn't exposed to the Allman Brothers very much early on, but I knew Thin Lizzy. So when
okay.
I hear a lot of the dual guitars do like those like double up leads like that, I always hear Thin Lizzy. And then I was talking to the guitar player from Taylor Honeycutt, and he was like, well, actually, if you go even further back, I'm looking at the Allman Brothers. And I was like, oh, it like was totally
Right.
eye opening for me. It's like it all kind of comes on right back down to the basics.
All Muscle Shoals, and we listen to a lot of the band. We kind of have a very Americana, all over the place influence at times. We can rock, we can, really honky tonk and two step, and
Yep.
so it's kind of like whatever mood we're in, we
Yeah.
kind of.
So I know you guys do a lot of stuff kind of like East Coast. Where would you guys want to tour to if given the opportunity?
We're not really trying to tour anywhere, but
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe one day. But we're all older guys, and the whole point of doing something with Dogwood Brothers was to try and help establish our scene here in Richmond, and get to like open up for awesome acts that, for a couple years it seemed like a lot of touring bands are just kind of skipping right over us from North,
Mhm.
going up to DC or Baltimore, and or going west, out
Mhm.
towards Harrisonburg and Winchester, or going to West Virginia. And it's like we like to there's a lot of great bands here in town and a lot of great venues that are, helping support the local music scene. And you know we've been pretty fortunate to get to help establish that more, and have opportunities to open for, Wayne Hancock and Summer Dean, and you know these JP Harris came through last summer. That guy was awesome.
Yeah, I could see you fitting really well with all those bands. That's a good list.
We got to open for Town Mountain. I mean, really big bands. And so like that's the fun part for us, is getting to, you know, be a part of that and help establish, what we have here. And but we do like to move around a little bit. We get out to Harrisonburg and Charlottesville, and we're trying to get up to Winchester and up to DC. We've got some people in Northern Virginia and stuff still. So
Nice.
we're trying to do more stuff like that. And in North Carolina is not too far for us. In Richmond, we can easily go down to the Raleigh, Chapel Hill area. It's only a
Yeah.
couple. So we're a regional kind of situation. But with everything being online now, it's kind of like just put it out to the world, and you know we don't have to go all over the country to like let people hear our music if we do it the right way, hopefully. But
It's a pretty good list though. And it's funny what you said about you think the bands skip over Richmond. I think if you live in DC, we always say the same thing. Oh, they go to Baltimore or Richmond. They never hit DC. And
yeah,
then, you talk to folks in Baltimore, they say the same thing. It's so funny. And I think what it is, there's so much music, and we have like, a lot that comes through that, the one or two shows you can't necessarily make, we get super bummed out about. But we
yeah,
forget there's going to be 100 other shows. Yeah, we're lucky. Yeah, I'd like to see you guys get up here at Desert Five Spot. I've gotten in pretty close with those guys, and I'll send you some contacts after this
yeah. That'd
so
be
you can
cool.
get you up here. That'd be cool. So I like that you guys have like a real down to earth vibe, real like, approachable and accessible element to y'all. What's some of your like favorite go to stage attire if you have that at all?
If it's like a big show and we're, playing the Broadberry or something like that,
Yeah.
we kind of dress up a little more maybe, but we don't have like, uniform outfits that we wear. I never say like, oh, make sure you're wearing black tonight, guys, or whatever. Like, I've got some Stetson hats and, I'll throw on a nice one if it's a cool show or we're just feeling that vibe.
Yeah.
Uh, I can wear Western shirts and boots and like no shorts and sandals on stage if you can help it. That's a vibe killer.
Yeah, dude, I totally agree, man. I really like when you go in and they're like the band does have a uniform look, like Jenny Don't and the Spurs. Sometimes they do like a uniform look, and for some reason it works and it's really cool.
For some people, it's great. I mean, I
Yeah,
think it's great. I like looking at it. I just
yeah,
don't doing it. Like it's
absolutely. Just a lot of coordinating, man. We're talking about 7 dudes that are getting off of work and trying to play a gig.
yeah. A lot of time, it's like I'm gonna be there late, but I'm just gonna show up and like whatever I'm wearing. and, You
And I
know,
like that too. It brings the real working class element to it, where it's like, hey, man, I'm here, and we're gonna rock your socks off, and this is what it is.
yeah.
Yeah, I like both things. I like all of that. So, oddly enough, man, like I said, we keep this short and sweet. So this kind of brings us to the end of the road. Do you have anything you'd like to promote? You got some songs or shows coming up?
We got a couple things we're stringing along. I'm in the middle of like buying a house right now, so like everything's about to take a little pause through April while we get
Mhm.
moving. I don't know. If you could see the rest of this room, it's just like boxes everywhere and stuff. It's kind of crazy. But we've got some stuff coming up in May at Stone Brewery.
Okay.
And in June, I think we're playing Northside Grill, but some stuff will probably pop up between now and then, I'm sure. We just put out a new EP at the end of the summer called the Valley Songs EP. It's
Yes.
all about songs inspired about the Shenandoah Valley, where me and my brother and a couple of the other Dogwood brothers kind of spent a lot of time growing up. And thank
An excellent EP, if I can say so myself. I love it.
you so much. Yeah, we just put that out and we did a music video for one of the songs on that album called Kennedy's Peak, which is kind of fun little like horse riding song. We got to go over to my aunt's horse ranch over in Fort Valley, and my cousin's like a, you know, great horse showman and stuff. So she was out there doing a bunch of horse riding and we're
It's
playing
awesome.
and stuff. That's on YouTube. That's a lot of fun. Check that out.
Okay. And then where can we find you on social media?
We're on Instagram and Facebook, Dogwood Brothers. That's about all we mess with a whole lot. We have a website, dogwoodbrothers.com. That's going to be the best place to go if you're really trying to figure out where we're playing next or look at where we've done before or just a good link to our music from there. And it's also got a link to our EPK if you're trying to book us and contact us and all that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Yeah, man. I think hitting the websites, jumping on email lists, I think that's super important. I think I actually have to like seek certain bands out and I had to keep hunting down the Dogger Brothers. Like the algorithm just eats up
Yeah.
all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't do the social media thing as well as others. I would say we're pretty lax about some of that stuff, but
Mhm.
slowly but surely, I think the word's getting out there that there's this cool band in Richmond, and if you see them, they're going to put on a good live show, and so we're steadily creeping along here in our own way.
Love it. Well, look, man, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy and we've been trying to line this up. So look, man, I'm gonna let you go and we'll talk later.
Yeah, good to see you, Camden.
All right, brother. Peace out.